we're going to talk about our first guest today, who actually is very exciting. She stars as a Wunderkind Neurosurgeon on the hit show Private Practice.
That's right. The only problem is Caterina Scorsone's character, Amelia Shepherd, is also an addict in desperate need of an intervention. Take a look.
It's a beautiful day, most of which I have spent having mind-blowing sex with a guy who looks like he walked off a Calvin Klein billboard.
I think you're in trouble, Amelia.
Well, if this is trouble, you should try it.
I'm worried about you. And I love you. And we are family, and family looks out for each other.
We stopped being family when you started sleeping with my brother's best friend while you were still married.
And Caterina joins us now in our studio to discuss her new role on the hit show and how she's playing crazy and addicted so well. She really is. Did you have any idea, first of all, that what started out as a guest starring role was going to turn into a series regular, much less with such a complicated storyline?
I mean, I think I had an idea, they had an idea that it might evolve into something like that, but there were no guarantees. And so I came on at the end of season 3 as a recurring. And then in season 4, they brought me back as a regular. And I went and I did a crossover to Grey's and Amelia.
To reconcile with your brother, yeah, exactly.
With Derek Shepherd.
So what was that process like for you? Were you like, you know, I'm just going to go right in and take it while this chance is here, or was it just overwhelming for you? How were you feeling?
I mean, I think I bite things off kind of, a piece at a time, and so I didn't think about 2 seasons hence and doing this big addiction storyline.
Right, right.
I kind of did it an episode at a time. The cast and the crew are so supportive. Everybody's a phenomenal actor, and everybody's kind of had their own show before, so the attitude is like everybody's over themselves by now.
They're just doing their job.
I mean? Everybody's really professional and warm and generous, and so I kind of walked into this situation that was already really smooth and rolling, and people kind of welcomed me.
Yeah, we just had Tay Diggs on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was really, really nice guy.
And he said pretty much the same thing. There's very little ego on the set because everyone's established in their careers.
Yeah, I don't think and it's some of the biggest names I've worked with, and I think it's probably the most generous, warm set I've ever been on.
Which takes away, what, like 90% of the drama
I know.
going to work, right?
Put the drama on the TV, not on the set, right? Do you get any
Yeah.
say over this? Do they come to you and they say, so look, how do you feel about your character suddenly having some addiction problems? Or do you just open up a script and it says,
like,
she
oh,
grabs
yeah.
the Vicodin and the vodka, and you go, what?
I mean, it's a little bit of a combination. Sometimes they'll give you a bit of a teaser and they'll kind of see how you react to it, and they might ask for your input a little bit, but ultimately Shonda kind of has the final word. Yeah. And luckily Shonda has the final word because she's done a fantastic job for 5 seasons. But yes, we're at the read-through, and sometimes there are gasps and tears.
You're so different, though, from the character, obviously. How difficult, or is it easy for you to play this role? Because it seems like it would be really tough.
It can be tough. It's especially this storyline has been physically taxing.
Yeah.
It's been just draining in terms of she's all over the place in terms of her moods, and people suffering from addiction. There's often huge mood swings, and it's just been a very athletic time. But in terms of playing a character very different from myself, I think that's some of the pleasure.
Right. You get to step out
you
of
get to have
yourself.
this alter ego, and you get to, I don't know, you get to develop your empathy for another human being and kind of fill them out in the most compassionate way you can. You try and look at this person that's totally different from you and imagine how they could have ended up this way. And if you had been born into their life and had lived their situation, how you might have.
Would you have ended up in the same position?
Yeah.
Do you ever, is it tough when you're exploring something that is so dark, do you ever have to go to any of the other actors and go, is this too far? Is that too much? Because it's so foreign to your own experience. I feel like, how do you know what's the right amount, you know?
Well, for this role that I'm doing now, because some of it is really technical and it's very sensitive, I wanted to be very authentic and true to it and not offend anyone and be sensitive about what I was portraying. It's a serious disease addiction. And so I was working really closely with both the medical staff on the show and also some former addicts who are now recovered and who are actually in addiction awareness and counseling. And so I was working really closely with some people who had direct firsthand experience.
Research for the job, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were talking about being born and life and compassion. Yeah. I read that you were a midwife's assistant. Is that right? You helped deliver a baby? Is that correct?
I was briefly a midwife's assistant when I first moved to LA.
Really?
The first baby that I helped deliver was actually my little sister she was actually a single teen mom, and she didn't have a partner when she was having her baby, and so I was like her birth coach. And she had opted for a home birth with a midwife. And so I was the person who was kind of there with her and experiencing this whole labor. And it was just her and me and the midwife and my mother. And, and this incredible girl, my sister, who had, you know, she was this young woman. And through the experience of watching her give birth, she kind of transformed into this very powerful, incredibly strong woman who was doing this miraculous thing. And it was just really, really inspiring. I cut the cord and everything.
I would have passed out. There would have been no help there. I would have passed out.
But you gave birth, you know.
Gave, not watched.
Didn't watch.
But it was amazing. It was literally, it was 5.5 hours in total silence. Nobody said a word.
Right.
It was this kind of hypnotic, beautiful
Totally different
experience.
experience.
And that kind of inspired me to get involved in
Prepared you for the
midwifery.
role.
It did.
In some way.
Well, I'll tell you what, people are going to say a word because there's an intervention coming up on Private Practice. You can check it out Thursday nights on ABC. Caterina,
you so
thanks for
much.
being with us.
Sure.